Shalom, friends, and welcome to Walking the Ancient Path, where we journey back into the language, landscape, and life rhythms of the Scriptures in a lighter, more accessible way, exploring the world of the Bible as its original listeners would have experienced it.
Today, we'll pick up our exploration of the book of Galatians verse by verse and unpack each passage within the context of organic ancient Hebrew thought, formatted like a living Hebrew commentary.
Let's pick up where we left off in Galatians chapter 4.
Verse 10. You observe days and months and times and years.
You are carefully keeping days and months, appointed times and yearly cycles.
You observe, the word implies careful watching like guarding a calendar. In Hebrew imagery, eyes fixed on the passing of seasons rather than on the living Elohim. Days and months and times and years, likely referencing ritual observances, festival cycles, and sacred calendars. Paul is not condemning celebration itself, but instead relying on it as the foundation of righteousness. Instead of walking freely as sons, they behaved like servants, counting days for their masters. The danger was that these external cycles became chains instead of signs, turning blessing into bondage.
Verse 11. I am afraid of you, lest I have bestowed upon you labor in vain.
I fear for you that perhaps all my labor poured out among you has been for nothing.
I am afraid of you, not because you're a threat, but out of a deep pastoral concern. In Hebrew imagery, like a farmer watching withered plants and worrying that the rains may not arrive in time. Lest I have bestowed upon you labor. Paul's effort is depicted as sweat in the field with extended hours of plowing and planting. His ministry among them was not casual but costly. In vain, the fear that his efforts have produced no results. In Hebrew imagery, water poured onto dry ground that absorbs it but does not produce any green shoots. Paul's tone is tender yet urgent. His fear isn't about wasted effort but grief, that their turning back could mean their lives bear no true fruit from the gospel seed.
Verse 12. Brethren, I beseech you, be as I am, for I am as you are. You have not injured me at all.
Brothers, I beg you, become as I am, for I also became as you are. You have done me no wrong.
Brethren, Paul softens his tone, speaking like family around the fire again, not as a stern judge. I beseech you, be as I am. In Hebrew imagery, walk the trail I walk. He urges them to imitate his freedom in Messiah, no longer bound by Torah. For I am as you are. Paul had already entered their world, living among Gentiles as one free from Torah's yoke. In imagery, he had pitched his tent among theirs. You have not injured me at all. He assures them that his rebuke is not a personal offense. Their struggle with false teaching has not wronged him, but threatens to wound themselves. Paul separates his concern for truth from personal pride.
Verse 13. You know how through infirmity of the flesh I preached the gospel unto you at the first.
You remember that it was because of weakness in my flesh that I first proclaimed the good news to you.
You know. Paul appeals to their memory, grounding his words in shared history. In Hebrew imagery, he points back to stones set up as markers along the trail. Through infirmity of the flesh, likely some illness or physical affliction caused Paul to go into their region. In Hebrew thought, his weakness became the doorway for Yahweh's strength. In imagery, a shepherd limping into the valley yet carrying seed that would take root there. I preached the gospel unto you at the first. Despite weakness, he delivered the Besorah. In imagery, a cracked vessel pouring out living water, proving that the power lay in the message, not the messenger's strength. Paul's tone reminds them that their very beginning with him was marked not by fleshly power, but by Elohim's power working through human weakness, just as the gospel itself declares.
Verse 14. And my temptation which was in my flesh you despised not nor rejected, but received me as an angel of God, even as Christ Jesus.
And what tested you in my flesh, you did not despise or spit out in rejection. Instead, You received me as a messenger of Elohim, indeed, as if I were Messiah Yeshua himself.
My temptation which was in my flesh, likely Paul's physical weakness or illness, which could have been a trial for both him and those who observed him. In Hebrew imagery, his frailty was like a broken jar, yet Yahweh's light shined through. You despised not, nor rejected. They did not turn away in disgust. Rejected here literally means spit out. In imagery, they did not spit out the vessel, though it seemed unworthy, but recognized the treasure it carried, but received me. They welcomed him warmly. In Hebrew imagery, they opened the tent flap and brought him to the fire as one of their own, as an angel of God, as a Malach, a messenger sent with Yahweh's message. They honored him not for his appearance, but because they recognized the message he carried. Even as Christ Jesus, their reception of Paul mirrored how one would welcome Messiah himself, treating the servant as if the master stood in their midst.
Verse 15. Where is then the blessedness you spoke of? For I bear you record that, if it had been possible, you would have plucked out your own eyes and have given them to me.
So what has happened to the joy of blessing you once spoke of? For I testify to you that, if it were possible, you would have torn out your own eyes and given them to me.
Where is then the blessedness? Paul laments the loss of their former joy. In Hebrew imagery, they once overflowed with barak, blessing, like streams rushing after rain, but now the river appears dry. You spoke of, their words had once been filled with gratitude and joy for receiving him and his message. You would have plucked out your own eyes, likely a figure of speech, possibly also suggesting Paul's own eye weakness. In Hebrew imagery, their devotion was so intense that they would have offered their most precious part, even their sight, to serve him, and have given them to me. Their early love was sacrificial, not holding back even life's most vital gift. In imagery, as if clan brothers would exchange their own breath to strengthen another. Paul's grief is once full of loyalty, but they now doubt him under the influence of false teachers.
Verse 16. Am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth?
Have I now become your enemy by speaking the truth to you?
Am I become your enemy? Paul's tone is heavy with sorrow. In Hebrew imagery, once he was welcomed as a brother by the fire, now they treat him as though he were a raider at the gate. Because I tell you the truth, emet, truth, is solid ground, unshakable. To reject the one who speaks it is to stumble off the secure path into thorns. Paul is confused that emet, once embraced with joy, now causes division. Speaking truth in the clan gathering was a sacred duty. Paul's lament is that loyalty to him has been undone because he refused to flatter them, choosing instead to hold up Yahweh's straight plumb line.
Verse 17. They zealously affect you, but not well. Yea, they would exclude you, that you might affect them.
They show great zeal for you, but not with good intent. In fact, they want to shut you off so that you will chase after them.
They zealously affect you. Their passion appears convincing, almost flattery. In Hebrew imagery, like suitors loudly courting, making a show of devotion, but not well. Their zeal is lacking goodness. It is twisted in motive. The guise of caring hides control. They would exclude you. To shut you off means cutting you away from Paul and from the freedom of Messiah. In imagery, like herders building fences to pen sheep for themselves, not to lead them to green pasture, that you might influence them. The goal was to create dependence, to make the Galatians seek their approval. In Hebrew imagery, sheep are led to follow voices that echo falsely in the hills, rather than the shepherd's call.
We'll pause here and continue in our next episode.
If you listeners have areas of interest you'd like to explore further, questions or comments, please don't hesitate to let us know.